So in 2018, Brian Kemp was running for governor of Georgia against Stacey Abrams. At the time, he was in the news a lot for alleged voter suppression. Lots of investigations were done by journalists. I'm Jeffery Cullen-Dean. I work for the Newnan Times-Herald, where I'm a reporter and a photographer. So they say, Jeffery, just you go again, just get a picture, and then we'll throw the picture saying like, he was here, kind of to satisfy readers. And as soon as I get there, I knew something was kind of weird, because this is where he was the last time too. And there was like a small protest across the street. And by small, it was like 2 to 5 people, but there weren't those 2 to 5 people the last time I covered him. And his crowd was also much larger when I got there, so I already knew, like, spidey senses were going off that, like, oh, this one's a little different. Suddenly I start hearing this woman shouting, "Stop it, stop it." And I thought someone was hurt or something, but they weren't. And so I couldn't see what was going on, and then I saw a state trooper a couple minutes later escorting this guy away. And to paint the proper picture of this guy, he was in this like shabby brown suit, not the state trooper, the guy being escorted. He's in this shabby brown suit, and he has this hat that like you see in like all the stereotypical like journalist movies from the 20th century. And I think he even had like paper into it, like you'd see like in a cartoon. I think, at least that's how I remember it. And he's being escorted away, and they're arguing. There's like, a little, maybe not yelling, but there's certainly commotion. And I was like, I'm gonna go see what that is, because I had time before my little photo op to, not really photo op, but to get my one picture that I was here for. And I'd heard the yelling from the woman, and I knew this was probably related. So I go over there and say, hey, I'm Jeffrey, I'm with the local newspaper. Could you tell me what's going on? Like, why were you removed from this campaign event? He's like, I'll tell you. And he introduced himself. He said, my name's Greg Palast. I'm a journalist. And I looked him up later. He was like written for The Guardian and for Rolling Stone. But that day he was there with a video crew with BET. And he goes, and I've been investigating Brian Kemp for the last 5 years on voter suppression. And so I was like, I was like, tell me more. I take out my notebook and I start talking to him about it. But I get back to the office and I sit down, and I was a little stunned. It was a lot at once. And I just kind of sat there at my desk for a minute, and then the editor turns around from his desk. He was next to me. His back was mostly towards me. So he turns around and he goes, hey, did you get that picture? I was like, I got more than a picture. And I explained what was going on. He said, well, you and I are gonna be here late tonight on the front page as we send it out the next morning. Journalists removed from Kemp Campaign Event. There's my picture of the guy, just not the journalist, of Brian Kemp, right on the front page. The next morning, there's like yelling from the publisher's office across the hall. She was on the phone with someone, and it sounds like someone, I'm guessing, read the article and unsubscribed from the paper because they didn't like what happened. And then the editor, whose desk was next to mine, had a phone call too, and he was like, yeah, that's how it is sometimes. We write about what happens. And they're like, I just don't think you should be writing about that. And some people weren't happy with my work. Luckily, I think everyone I worked with was. And that's kind of how that whole thing shook down. Month 1.
Month 1.